I was a person who believed in the death penalty until it happened to me.
That's Elwood, and he's the 201st person in the United States to be exonerated from death row.
Elwood Jones
spent nearly 30 years on death.
Nearly 10,000 days behind bars.
From death row to freedom.
In 1994, Elwood Jones was 41 years old. He worked as a houseman at the Embassy Hotel in Blue Ash, just outside of Cincinnati. And he was described at the time as a very hard worker.
And this particular morning, I came in at 5. I was working on the floor. And this loud scream, it was. People went upstairs to the second floor. This is where the room that the victim died in.
A guest named Rhoda Nathan had been murdered in her hotel room. Elwood was working that morning, and completely randomly, he'd cut his knuckle on a metal staircase. And like so many of us have in the past, he licked it to get the blood off. That detail, a man using his mouth to clean his own knuckle, would later be used to construct a theory that placed him at the murder scene. The police interviewed Elwood that day, and of course he was completely cooperative. He had nothing to hide. He told them everything he did, he was completely honest, and he went home thinking that was probably the end of it.
I didn't realize, I didn't know that they was trying to pin anything on me. I walked around for over a year.
And for more than a year, Elwood went on about his life. He went to work, he saw friends. He didn't think anything more about it because he knew he didn't do anything.
I didn't look at myself as being a suspect because I didn't do anything.
Right. But all the while, the state was secretly and quietly building a case around him. In fact, they went to grand juries multiple times and couldn't get the indictment. So they kept going back time and time again until eventually they found a grand jury that said yes. And when they finally arrested Elwood, they offered him a plea deal. They said, plead guilty to manslaughter, and eventually you could go home.
They had offered me a manslaughter, and I told them I wasn't guilty. I wasn't copping out to anything. So I went to trial, and I didn't even believe that I would get convicted. I'm saying, I ain't did nothing. Ain't nobody seen me do nothing. Not nothing. And I say eventually they let me go on about my life.
Elwood went to trial. He was convicted. And in January of 1997, Elwood Jones arrived on Ohio's death row. I speak a lot on this channel about death row. The statistics, the numbers, the theories around it. But today I want you to hear directly from Elwood and how he describes it. Not through a reporting angle, but as his home for nearly 30 years.
To be in a whole 8x10 cell, sometime 23 hours out of a day, I'm saying, and then when you have to come out, they hog tie you like you're some wild animal. All this sets in on you, and you think about you getting ready to die for something you didn't do. I don't think nobody in their right mind can say that this is not hell. It is hell in ways that is undescribable, and there's been a many nights I laid in my cell and they say men don't cry. That's a lie. They do. I've laid and cried. I've even asked the Lord. I say, you see everything. Why didn't you see this?
In 1999, 2 years into his sentence, Elwood's father sadly passed away.
I lost my father, and I thought about it. I say, did I send my father to his grave? And I used to thought about that a lot. That what gave me, that was another thing, gave me the strength to keep fighting and hoping that somehow that everything would come out and I would get my life back. And I still think about that at some time. Did I send my father to his grave worrying about me? And so for me to clear my family's name was on the top of my list because I knew My parents never raised a murder.
The Innocence Project estimates that somewhere between 2.3 and 5% of all incarcerated people in America are actually innocent. On death row, where the stakes couldn't be higher, we know at least 201 people were sentenced to die and later proved innocent. That's 201 people the state were prepared to kill for crimes they never committed. And here's what eventually came out. The prosecution in Elwood's case had withheld thousands of pages of evidence the jury never saw. And this evidence could have helped his case, could have saved him from death row, and could have saved him from losing almost 30 years of his life.
The same office that constantly appealed everything is the same office that a prosecutor come in and said, we got this wrong, and dismissed it with prejudice.
The same prosecutor's office that fought to keep Elwood on death row for almost 30 years had to walk into court and say, we got it wrong. The case was dismissed with prejudice, and they can never try him again. Elwood Jones walked out of prison after losing 27 and a half years of his life. He walked out into a world with smartphones and laptops, a world completely different to the one that he was last in.
The city had changed. I come back to a day of technology. Everything is ran that away.
And he walked out of prison with health difficulties that made it incredibly hard for him to get back to work. And the first place he visited after getting out of prison was a cemetery to tell his parents he was finally home.
When I first got out, I went to visit my mother and father at the cemetery. And I bowed down and told them that I was home and I'm here. So, and I went on from there.
His first meal was lasagna. He spent the day playing with his nieces and nephews, some of whom he had never met. And he's now volunteering, trying to give back to his community and advocating for the end of the death penalty.
I find ways to bring a smile back to my face when I'm able to help somebody else. We never know. We can be that same person. So,
from one day to the next, everything can be taken away. Elwood might be free, but the system that took 27 years of his life hasn't changed. And then, 3 weeks ago, something shifted.
I no longer believe the death penalty is a deterrent to murder. The moral justification I had for voting for the death penalty simply no longer exists.
On June 16th, 2026, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican who supported the death penalty his entire career, finally said the state should abolish it. I like to think that Elwood Jones and his story had something to do with that.
Only reason I'm alive because you didn't get the drugs. And I thank the Lord every day for that.
One thing is for certain, Ohio has exonerated multiple people from death row.
I would like it to be put on the shelf. I'm hoping that the governor in Ohio grant clemency to all the guys on there. My reason to ask, I'm only asking them to do that, is because you could have killed me and I'm innocent.
The state, and by association, Governor DeWine, has come scarily close to executing innocent people. Elwood Jones was on that list.
He realized that he almost took a person's life that is not guilty on his watch. He decides to make that turn. And if I can do that, I've done my job. And I feel that I've done some real good to help many of people. No one should hold that power to take another life.
People debate the death penalty on all kinds of grounds. Does it deter crime? Is it applied fairly? And those are real debates. But there's one argument you just can't get around, and it's the one sitting in front of me during that interview. You cannot un-execute someone. You cannot give back 27 years of their life. Every argument for the death penalty, in my opinion, crumbles at the risk of executing just one innocent person. And we have at least 201 of them.
My name is Elwood Jones. I spent 27 and a half years on Ohio's death row for a crime that I didn't commit.
Elwood is currently trying to get back on his feet after being incarcerated for 30 years. As I mentioned earlier, he's entering a world that is very different from the one that he left in the late 90s. Death Penalty Action, which is an incredible organization, has set up a fundraiser to help Elwood get back on his feet. If you would like to help Elwood by donating some money, please do go to the link in my description or share this video, do whatever you can. And if you liked this video, please do consider subscribing to my channel where I cover all things death penalty, criminal justice, and prison reform. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Sometimes we think about things and we ask ourselves why. You may not know that reason to get that reason. I just keep moving and trying to do something good. And I believe that I am, and I believe that I will continue.